Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for King-ohger episode 10. So this episode basically continues from last week's episode, which is kind of a setup for this one, and also it's this culmination of the series overall. Honestly, it feels like we kind of had these two mini arcs, which was episodes 1 through 5, which was general setup, and then 5 through 10, but it overall made kind of one big arc, which almost feels like a season or even a series finale if there wasn't stuff on the table, which is something I want to talk about later. But it made for an overall strong episode with only a few problems that I have that are more so personal issues that I'm working through. But we'll get to that too. But this episode has Gira kidnapped, and the villains want him to summon the gods for him, and he's just kind of floating there, literally, while the other rangers are contemplating what to do. Of course, Rackley's takes advantage of the situation, and he's like, you know, we need to unite. All you have to do is bend the knee, and everything's going to be totes cool. Actual dialogue from Rackley's. But the other kings are all contemplating what to do with their roles in their kingdoms, and it's kind of nice because it all ties back to last week's episodes in a way, which is why we focused on their sort of, you know, right-hand people, as they all get a chance to help them realize what to do and realize their character, which was kind of cool. It was a cool way of fleshing out those side characters and then also using it to enhance this moment as well as our main characters. With, you know, of course, Blue's right hand saying, you know, you're not just our king, you're Yanma. But you can be a Yan Mega if you really believe it. And then you have Yellow talking to not Alfred, who's talking about, like, you know, how she was being selfish, is that she doesn't want to lose anybody. And then, of course, you have the Black Rangers guy reminding him, like, you're one sneaky SOB. We'll do any underhanded method to get ahead. Also, you're still annoying to me. And then Rita was probably my favorite, with it tying back to last week when Gira had that conversation with the assistant girl who said, you know, how have you ever helped Rita before? Have you ever thought about reaching out and helping and seeing what's wrong? And then she takes, like, the stuffed animal and actually uses it to hug. Like, it would have freaked me out. Like, I feel like Rita knows full well that they're not actually talking to the stuffed animals, and then imagine that happened to you and the stuffed animal actually moves. I would have been like, oh my god, she's like slashing the hell out of it. Imagine if that would have happened. Like, it was funny. I mean, not it was funny, but I mean, the scenario in my head was funny if, like, if they would have realistically freaked out. But it was a nice moment, and I liked that because it was nice character moments kind of tying into what we know about all of Core 4 so far. Not the real Core 4, which is from Scream 6, but this Core 4. Also tying into last week's episode with their individual sort of not second in commands, because they're not in charge at all. They're basically like their Pam, or their assistant. They're like Aaron sitting at the desk. You know what I mean. I don't know what I'm talking about. They all end up ready for a classic Quarry fight as they all go to meet up and Gira is conveniently kicked down there. Kind of like with episode 5 where we got the Rangers all coming together for the first time and doing their morph. We do that here. I feel like throughout the series we're just going to see them sort of, you know, getting a stronger bond with each in each arc. Like, I feel like this time the team is more united, but I don't think they're going to be like super kumbaya normal Sentai. I think they're all still going to have their individual goals throughout the series, but I think we're going to see them grow closer throughout the series as a team. I'll be interested to see how the final resolution is, but we'll also get to that later. We get a cool fight scene where they kind of morph into their fighting, or fight into their morph, where they start the morph and then they start a civilian fight as the morph jingle happens, which is really cool, because we get some of that classic King-ohger stunts with them in their civilian outfits. And then we get kind of like the episode 5 roll call, where the roll call is done via them morphing. They you know, stop for a pose after they fight. You get a cool graphic, and, like, the changer says their name. It was just so much of a cooler way of doing it than screaming your name out, which is honestly kind of weird and lame. I really like the way they did this. Not to mention it makes more sense in the fight to be like, okay, slash, and then it stops for a pose instead of just posing like an absolute weirdo. Anyway, it was a really cool fight scene, fighting against the Bugnarok boss, you know, or at least as far as we know is the boss. He could be assistant to the regional manager, who knows. He probably answers to David Wallace. You can really tell that the Bugnarok was okay taking a picture with them, even though he was there for disciplinary reasons. And, like, they finish him off, at least sort of for now, by firing, Purple fires the sword with the bow at him. Well, I don't know if they've done that before, but it was really cool to see, and it reminded me of Shattered Grid when Kim fired the Dragon Dagger with the power bow. That was really cool. But it seems like he's been blown up, but he's not. At the end of the episode, he still survived. You know, we don't know how, but I knew that was going to happen. You know, I thought there was a chance that it would be like, oh, big reveal, there's another villain guy we didn't know about, or maybe it was in some scans I missed, but yeah, he survives. The Bugnaroks live to fight another day. But it was a big moment. And then the whole conflict of the episode, though, is, you know, of course, that invasion from last week, and they're like, you know, we need to unite, we can't do this all together, you know, we're not fast enough, and the whole idea is bringing together the ultimate god combination and fulfilling the prophecy. The three Shu Gods show up, and they're like, we're in a throuple now, deal with it. And then they all form the big mecha. And it's a really cool moment because it seeds together the threads of the ancient legend about the kings coming together, and they even recite it about, like, this is basically the second coming of that prophecy of these kings coming together to form the ultimate god, and ties back to, again, the prophecy from the very beginning of the series. It's really cool. On a logic level, I do find it funny that they're like, with King-ohger by itself, we're not fast enough to fight all these threats all over. We need to make the mecha bigger and clunkier to get around faster. It's stupid logic stuff that I think about, but what's important here is the story, and the story reason it existed worked really well, and I really liked the way that worked. And there were some really cool fight scenes in the mecha, seeing them all like dash around and blow up all the monsters, and then you get like a nice scene of the townspeople being inspired by seeing the return of this legend, which is really neat. And then the status quo is pretty much the same at the end, though, as they still believe Gira is dead, so he's still in hiding, and Rackley's basically takes credit for it all. Not just that, oh, I was the Red Ranger in the mecha. He's like, no, I did it all. The other gods were just at home, watching Friends on TV. I did everything. And they all believe him, of course. Like, not to that extent, you know what I mean. Luckily, our annoying peasant friend wasn't in this episode, so it made the episode all the more pleasant. But it was an overall really strong episode. I liked it. It felt like a conclusion to this overall arc. Again, almost feeling like a season or series finale. Like, just as a random side note, I feel like if you were to tweak this a little bit, you know, cutting off a couple little teases for future plots and resolving the Rackley's stuff, and the Bugnaroks actually were defeated here, this could have made a tight 10-episode season. Or series. Not that I wanted it to be, but I feel like I've seen a lot of worry about Cosmic Fury not being able to do things in 10 episodes, and they covered a lot of ground in these 10 episodes, and I still feel like I got a good grasp on the core story, as well as the characters. I'm not saying I'd want it, or that maybe like something like this couldn't even be better with 13 episodes, I'm just saying it's proof of concept for me. Because like it did feel very finale-y in a way, if the Bugnaroks were destroyed, and you just resolved Rackley's. Because a lot about, you know, what we've been working towards was wrapped up in this episode. But obviously we have stuff to look forward to. And like I said, I overall enjoyed the episode. My only problems really came in that logic stuff wasn't really a problem. It was just me kind of being, you know, a douche like, oh, why wouldn't they just try this? It's just funny stuff. But my only real problems come from, which is the only thing that I'm really not enjoying about the series, is kind of some of the overacting, which is in a lot of ways a more personal problem, just because every year, I know it's part of Toku's style, but that overacting, overanimating just grates on my nerves more and more every year. So like in scenes with Blue and his subordinate guy, when he was like, it was frustrating because there was like some nice acting in that scene, but was a little bit spoiled for me by him overdoing it a little bit. And also more so, it's just about Gira's character. I do like the whole idea of the Tyrant King being this fun game he played with the kids, and then that being incorporated into the story, where it's like, actually, yeah, he's going to be conquering this kingdom as the Tyrant King, but he's really the good guy, and the king that he's conquering is really the bad guy. I like that. It was kind of a cool, meaningful moment that ties this fun game that he plays with these kids that he's close with. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean. It ties that kind of special moment for him into the real narrative. But then when it turns into a bit, like when the Rangers inspire Gira to fight with them, he immediately ruins this cool moment by doing his annoying laugh and overacting. And it's that moment it takes me out of it, because he feels like a cartoon character all of a sudden rather than a real person. And that's just, it's a personal thing, but I think with that, it bothers me because I actually like the device of the Tyrant King thing, but then when it's played up as a bit, I don't like that. But setting that aside, I really did like the episode. And next week is our debut already for the Sixth Ranger, which seems kind of early, but we also kind of covered everything in these 10 episodes, so it also feels kind of right. I'm a little bit worried just because, I can't really base full judgment off one frame, but he looks like he might be annoying in the one frame. I just want normal people, guys. I just want normal, just act like a person. Like, it would be great if he was cool, but if he's at least normal, I'll be happy. But I am excited to see that suit in action and see how it flows into the story and to see his story. And again, it seems kind of early in terms of, like, thinking about it meta-franchise level, in terms of another Six debut, although there has been some early debuts in the past. But in terms of them kind of wrapping up this overall arc, it feels kind of right to start this new arc. And also, this sort of arc system, where we're wrapping up this arc with 10 episodes, feels very similar to a lot of Rider series that I had watched in the past few years. I haven't really mostly watched the last two series, but, series like Revice and 01 would do these little mini arcs that felt like little seasons, so that's kind of similar. But overall, strong episode, strong conclusion to this arc, 4 out of 5. I like how they brought it full circle with the legend we learned at the beginning, and the legend being Reborn. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.